Alright, without getting too much into it, I just want to keep it on the low tone. It's not like anything I'm going to do here is changing physics off of the base reality. So it's going to be an 8-hour interrogation, but we don't know beyond what the statement is here. Break begins, could be any break to, for sure it's going to be 3-hour slam inside of here. But this is pre-log investigation. We noticed it in the other case from this morning about standards for what happens here. It's a murder of a house with something, and he could be leading a double life at a male's bathhouse inside there. That's not important. I don't necessarily think that should have been out there for the Sharps case, but it becomes relevant to the case. It really does. Camera, squishy mark. Say he went out of town or out of the local thing when there was a system to be what those are for forensic notes for time in the body, scars on the face, incidents of a fall. How does that happen? I mean, you can whiteboard this one, and the M2 and M3 on this is, I would want to hit Z-coin across the board. This is an interrogation of a physical math problem one way or another, upside down, pineapple, keyhole it. I still have to turn this inside of a system. Now that becomes much easier than M2 phase for the prison and jail and systems, of course, against the physics of having a whiteboard or a presentation of those values, something that's congruent to the M1, M2 Fibonacci sequence, Fibonoptics here, of inside of the this is where things get a little hot on an 8-hour interview. I don't know exactly if there's a fast forward in this or what's going on, but you have to remember, this is one day in the grind. This is one of the days. And now there could be little things, most commonly, whatever they did, they give it up. Whatever they did, they remain neutral and just can't handle it. Whatever they did it, but it's going to go a certain way. And the fourth dimension on that is anything inside of these special types of circumstances from here. We don't know. And I would say it from the get-go. I don't necessarily know where that's going. Now, I think I would play this differently here. I'm doing it for the Z-coin across the board, not necessarily interrogation tricks. If I had to watch Diamonds Are Forever for the casino guard inside here for counting cards, I would want to have some kind of registered system, and maybe a little thing out here. You're having to use the board. Here are some of the rules, because there ain't nothing shit else to read and write in the room. So one piece of paper on the hit for what this board would represent comparatively to other court cases that might have a different standard model. I need an investigator from anywhere to be able to drop the investigating standards at a federal level. So that's why in the FedBoc I would go FBI if you're going to allow some topology differences inside of here through teaching techniques. But I think over across the whole, this is going to be a little bit more warm and receptive to a main break. I'll give you that there might be some squishy cat inside of what this variable might actually have to look like, but there needs to be some kind of presentation that those things can still scale congruently, because they'll get there without any limitations, and knowing that, to be able to just, that's what that is inside of here. And like I said, I need pre-log inside there where this comes up in the prep log for what could come up in here. Now, regular officers could walk in, and I mean, they'd certainly need to be able to do things inside of there. Did you see how soft he tapped on that door? Okay. Now, do we take a whole investigation thing for that city area for rights against other people's standards where it goes so much different for the pipe works on M1, M2, MN? Well, it'd be M0, M1, M2. We're getting into a 3x3 matrix, but you can still do it with the simple matrix of saying on, off. As soon as you get to the third one, it is the fourth one by a different standard, because as long as there's a change, A delta B inside of there about the normal congruency through town, relationships, construction sites, cost and timelines, how that's going, Gunny's wife and dildo in the dresser drawer, however it plays. You can use stuff like that. I'm not saying that wouldn't be still congruent to what freedom is in terms of deciding on the topology, what's the best index, testing immediately because you had a multiple phase set inside of there ready to distinguish that function. Well, it depends on when we get started. Here it says 11 minutes, so for me it could be the shooting gallery. I mean, do you want to lay that on a kid in the stone mill though, where they're cutting rock? Something to think about. Don't get too heavy with where it is and what it is and the moral obligation of those things, because I'll fucking crack you. I'm talking to my salty crew. Everybody else is marshmallows, really. Get off my tail, you zombie. Well, I wish it could be. Well, like I said, it still has to turn into the regular conversation in the inmates. Watching from this morning, a guy raped a guy because he wouldn't quit coming on to him, so they had the investigation through here on. Gets heavy. Just because it's not your forte doesn't mean that there's not things that I need to know about telling somebody inside here. I mean, obviously that's what that is. Here's the case. 2 seconds on my cell phone, MCATs, brain scan right here. Let's talk about some of the vector positions in the cosmic radiation background, yeah? Okay, look, this is where we are living. It's not necessarily that I'm afraid of you doing it. Well, I'm sure you'll figure it out. My point, if you come over to this side of the board, inside of here, okay, now, I can't necessarily quantify there's a differential for them to do so. Well, it's wild out there when you get some ex-military drunk on the side of the road SWAT team guy about what it is out there and what you have to look at and be realistic of on the farm over here comparatively to what it might be down the glass on somebody else's Fibon optics inside of here. Because really, like I said, gas station, Quickie Mart, down there, downturn, your friends over to somebody other places, those things are easy enough to check up on the interview for what it does, what's happening out there right now. For any investigator, that's not like, well, why isn't he coming in here talking to me? And I'm not saying that that's what's off the top of his head right now. That might go in just standard model, cold reading for it's going to be this, that, and the other, and this is pretty stone already. Maybe up to take a piss once. It might have looked odd about what's going on, but hey, somebody might have to be in here monitoring these things because them booties got fucking ropes on them, and well, it gets crazy. Now, of course, it's nice enough as it is. It's easier to just play the sensor switch to open, on, off, MOSFET switch, number of prime systems in there, start keying off to, well, needs too much. Well, we're still in an investigation phase, not a rest phase or any other value inside of there, so that's true. But the uniform speaks volumes comparatively to the timeline on where I would have to position myself for this kind of chess game. Well, like I said, you should be able to take a lot of this material, good, bad, and or indifferent, because gravity collapses the singularity. And so I'm not saying that this is your gravity. I'm saying that this is an A1 congruency to one of those sets. Now, that was one of the standard models that we talked about. We could hit a lot more inside of there for reasonable cause for lethal injection, case 1, case 2, life imprisonment, given murder cases, timelines, and trials, down to the whole Matrix based off of the Transformers movie where they hack the hard line before they cut it with an axe. That thing. It's heavy. Well, like I said, it's just most of my play with the grind sometime. You figure out the basic gravity of a house, and boy, is this the hard fucking line right here, man. I'm sorry, my man, if I would have to come on and do the review for you, but you can't stop the brain. It is what it is. Couldn't stop hers from doing that. Can't stop yours from doing this, nor the guards when he opens, closes the doors, catch a piece of it. Just the job, come in there, but he would still kind of catch it a little bit. Like I still have to maintain reserve based off of the squeaky saws in the background here about how things go. Yep, it's electrons, doors open and close, about what it does inside of there, and when those things don't go that way, how it plays out on the farm in Serengeti for contracts on the move matrix for what you got on there, the momentum, the position in the packets while it's traveling down the pipes here. I mean, that's what life is. still a person, occupies territory, put Patton in this situation differently, with a bunch of momentum on Fluff, even though he's not saying anything. It speaks multiple tones, not just innocent or guilty from this perspective. You got to consider this interrogation room again at Zcoin on the blockchain for standard models of things. When you put them into any evaluation of the squishy cat by terms, investigation, board meeting, runs the whole gambit. Like I said, I caught bosses at the table like, hey, I'm here to talk about it. Here's Zeus and Prometheus to Breacher, because it's easy enough to change over M1, M2. And Stonemason and backwards different. We got that in common. As soon as I give you that and this and that and those things or other, it's moving. And it's because brothers don't have to play that much with it. It's there. It's all about business and getting Blue lubed up, so she doesn't want to kick like a fucking mule at the bar or whatever, Ham Candle Factory. That's a great joke. You hear it in the territory. Still useful on the long game, wherever it goes. Well, like I said, from here we can't really dictate information nor even the presentation of something like this to be this system at 11:14. This is fast. You would have to imagine brownies are cooked here, things are coming in, we got what it is for what it is. Click, open up the door, electron in. Short of any kind of fluff talk that might be between pages that tells out the story, Explorer series running Sleepy Hollow. Right, I just want to get big with you. Stuff. Well, for a guy like me, I would need the train wreck. I'm not used to this kind of thing, so if you're not used to those kind of reactionary models, you should be able to see this from the simulator at least, not to determine that's what's happening if you're keying off like this. It's still physics under the idea, and it will be physics one way or another, whether it was observed or not by these standards and these vector positions, where Jupiter might be today. Glad we stayed neutral to the state. Could have cracked off the big end because in a very emotional state on things that could have happened. Well, from the railgun here, you still get kicked in the chest by that one, right? It'd be upside down, up down, upside down pineapple cake, because that's what these are for. And you never know. A lot of stuff isn't always on camera for the game trail. We started the interview.